ask for no help, I just did it by myself. Can't nobody tell me no, no, no. And they ain't gotta love you, long as you just love you, you gon' be alright on your own. Straight up the dome.
Off the Dome, you hear it in the song, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast for two sports lovers, and sometimes three. Sit and give their hot takes.
Off the Dome.
I am Redfish.
I am Mustang.
I'm Clown Car.
No, this is Mr. Lottober. Apparently he forgot his own name. But, yeah. Off the Dome Sports Podcast featuring Redfish, Mustang, and now Clown Car. Shout out to Ezzy for the intro song, EZZI on Spotify. Give him a listen. That song is called Off the Dome. If you're listening in on New Rock Radio, we want to thank you for listening to newrockradio.us. Don't only listen in for us, though. Listen in 24/7 for your favorite and the best rock music, whether it be national, classic rock, new rock, local rock, whatever the case may be. Listen to newrockradio.us as well as newcountryradio.us. Same thing popping off over there. Over 1,000 songs in that playlist. I love country music myself. Go ahead and give newcountryradio.us a listen. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, Radio House Studios. That's where we live stream from. So if you're just listening in, go ahead and give the live stream a chance on Radio House Studios, whether that be Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Or you can follow the sports podcast account. That is us, Off the Dome Sports Podcast, on Facebook and YouTube, as well as on Twitter at @off_the_dome pod. Also, we want to make sure next Wednesday, 7 p.m., January the 18th, tune in on both newrockradio.us and the Radio House accounts for the band practice segment here at the Radio House, live from Studio A. You will hear Constricted. You won't want to miss the energy this band's going to bring to the Radio House right here in Studio A. Go ahead and check them out. Constricted, that's next Wednesday, January the 18th at 7 p.m., live segment of the band practice featuring Constricted on newrockradio.us and Radio House Studios. We also want to thank our sponsor, Petra Restaurant and Lounge. You can see their sign right behind the shaved head of Mr. Lottober here, which we're going to talk about in just a second.
Oh, yeah.
Petra is one of the best dining experiences in the area. Definitely don't want to miss them. Offer daily specials with a great restaurant atmosphere as well as the lounge area. Completely renovated lounge with one of the best wine selections. And not only that, but they have a great catering menu too. So go ahead and check them out. 1036 West Airline Highway is where you can find Petra. Or go ahead, give them a call, 985-359-8888. All right, we got to get into it. First thing.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
What's wrong?
Last time you were here, you had some luscious locks.
I did.
On top of that head. Whether you had a hat covering them or not, doesn't matter. You had a nice head of hair on you.
I did.
And now you look like you're going into the military.
Look. Back in 2022, I had some golden locks flowing from my scalp.
Uh-huh.
But, when you bet on the Chicago Bears,
The Bears.
it's kind of what happens.
Bad.
In a perfect universe, Bryce is the one with the shaved head.
Yeah. So in case y'all didn't know, let's go ahead and explain this bet. So
Okay.
before the season, Lott was heavy on the Bears. He said they were going to be, a lot better than people were expecting. They weren't Super Bowl caliber. That wasn't his argument. His argument was, is they're going to be a lot better than people expect.
Yeah.
So our first bet is if they get double-digit wins, I'm getting a tattoo that says Lott was right on it.
Yeah.
I got to pick where it was, so it wouldn't be anywhere weird or anything like that. But I had to get a tattoo that said Lott was right if the Bears got double-digit wins. And after the first 4 weeks of the season, it was sketchy.
They won
they
two
beat
of
the
their
Niners.
first three.
Yeah,
Yeah, they won two of their first three.
It was sketchy.
I was hyped.
But we also made a smaller bet, which was if the Bears get 8 or more wins, I have to shave my head. If the Bears get 7 wins, neither of us have to do it. But if the Bears get 6 or less, Mr. Lottober here would have to shave his head. So about 5 weeks into the season, I'm like, oh, man, looks like my hair is gone. And then they fell apart and ended up with the number 1 pick. So now we sit here with a shaved head of Mr. Lottober.
I'm colder than I was in 2022, but it's growing back quick.
Yeah.
I had a basically a shaved head, and now I have a buzz cut.
Yeah. Hey,
And I'm
gotta do what
kind
you
of
gotta
rocking
do.
with it. I can't really wear hats right now because I don't like the way it feels on my noggin. But I think I'm pulling it off.
Yeah, no, you look good. You look good.
Thank you.
If there's anybody here who could pull off a shaved head, I think it's you.
Just
it definitely
wait,
ain't me.
It
just wait
definitely
until
ain't you.
we bet on the Bears again next season.
I mean, but see, here's your thing: is you missed on the Bears, but you were very right about the Broncos. We all thought the Broncos were going to make the playoffs, and you said the Broncos are going to stink.
I was
and we were
positive.
like, that makes no
Positive.
sense.
Russ is cooked.
And that you were right. The funny thing about the Broncos is you kept on saying, 2 years ago when the Rams, before they won the Super Bowl, you were like 5-12, 5-12, 5-12. You know what the Broncos went?
5-12.
Crazy. You were just a year off on the wrong team.
That's right.
But you
That's
knew
right.
somebody was going 5-12.
Yeah.
All right, but let's talk about some other football. We got the Saints. That's our hometown team. I don't want to talk about them for too long just because they're embarrassing. But, overall, season finished with a devastating loss to the Panthers on Sunday. We finished 7-10 on the year. Final thoughts on the year?
Was that loss to the Panthers really devastating?
No,
Did
no.
anyone care at
No,
that
I'm
point?
just saying. I meant from the stance that we were up 7-0
Yeah.
early in the game and then did absolutely nothing for the last 3 quarters. That's what I meant by devastating.
My final thoughts on this season is obviously we are going to lose a lot of players this offseason. We're going to have to work around a lot of things. But our most pressing need is coaching. Our coaching staff is not just not good, it's actively bad in bringing the team down. I don't think Dennis Allen can handle his role with the Saints right now. And I think Pete Carmichael, I think that scheme is outdated. He's still scheming the Saints like they still have Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Like they still have all of these guys that are in their prime. And I just don't think that that's sustainable with a guy like Andy Dalton. And don't get me wrong, Andy Dalton's been great.
He was much better than expected.
Like
for sure.
the second half of the year, Andy Dalton was so good. Like he was like top 10 in QBR or something. That's a really rough statistic. Don't fact check me on that. But he was top half of the league. Like he was really good.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's the problem. I think it's coaching, and I think coaching is what it boils down to.
Yeah, I would agree. We did have the injury bug, of course, but every team has injuries. It's not like the Saints were the only ones who got injuries.
Yeah,
you got to power through, and you got to find a way to win, and we simply did not do that. We hit a little hot streak there towards the end of the year. We won 3 in a row. We were like, oh man, we might make a little push for the playoffs. Didn't end up happening, unfortunately. But we would have lost in the first round anyway, let's be honest with ourselves. And I think it does come down to coaching. Pete Carmichael, not the guy we thought he was going to be.
no,
Dennis Allen is proving that, he's a great D coordinator. We've said it over and over and over. He's a great D coordinator. For some reason, he doesn't work as a head coach. We're going to make a lot of changes this offseason, I have a feeling. But unfortunately, I don't know if the changes are going to come in the coaching department.
Yeah, especially with finishing out that strong, it kind of gave a lot of people in the organization like some false hope, really, thinking that he can do better than what he actually can. I really just think our team, our defense specifically, played so good these last few games.
yeah, they were great.
That it kind of shed some light onto the coaching department, and it wasn't really necessarily their reward to gain. It was mostly the defenses, especially because our defense was coming back healthy. Like Lattimore, Pete Werner, all coming back. Really showed how good this defense can be. But, it's hard to say. I would like a change in the coaching position, especially with all these rumors around Sean Payton.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll happen.
That's the next thing I wanted to talk about is, Sean Payton has made it obvious that he's getting back into coaching this next season.
Yeah,
He wants to be back. He's going to be back. So I know there's a few teams being floated around as where he may go. The Chargers were an option, but I don't think they're going to fire Brandon Staley now that they're in the playoffs.
They made the playoffs. He's not leaving.
Jerry Jones came out today and said Mike McCarthy's job is safe, which we don't know that for 100% certainty just because it's Jerry Jones. We don't know anything coming from that mouth is 100% certainty. But let's assume that Mike McCarthy has a job next season with the Dallas Cowboys. We still have jobs like Denver, who already interviewed or are going to interview Sean Payton. They're already in agreement to interview Sean Payton, I should say. Arizona's job is now open with Cliff Kingsbury out of there. The Panthers' job is open. The Colts' job is open. So there's quite a few teams out there that could look at Sean Payton. Do y'all have a specific spot you want to see Sean, or you think we will see Sean?
I don't know if there's like a specific spot that I want to see Sean Payton. But I think the one that makes the most sense for Sean Payton is the Denver Broncos. I mean, that roster, I know they flopped this season, but they still have extreme talent.
Mhm.
Whether Russ Wilson is not what he was or not, like he's still a veteran quarterback surrounded by talent. And we know that Sean Payton is coming with Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Who's very familiar with the Broncos.
Obviously.
Right? So I could see them trying to turn that roster into a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a while back, and I said the Broncos, and I'm going to stick with it. I really don't think Russell Wilson was the problem there. I think he's still a really good quarterback, or he can be, under the right supervision. Nathaniel Hackett was not a good match
No, not
for
at
Russell
all.
Wilson. Just watching these plays unfold, and like it's kind of like you're not. He's one of the best deep throwing quarterbacks ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, prime Russ, when they were making Super Bowls and NFC championships, he had the most beautiful deep ball and connected on every single one.
Yeah, and he just didn't have enough chances to show it this season, I feel. And I know Sean Payton, he's not one that's all for the deep ball, but when it comes down to it, he will let the quarterback throw
Yeah.
it deep. And so I think it'd be a really good match for Sean Payton to go to Denver still.
Yeah, speaking on the Broncos first, I mean, it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. Russ is kind of that, he's towards the end of his career, more towards the end than he is the beginning. But when Sean was with the Saints, Drew Brees, I mean, from 2017 to 2020, he was towards the end of his career too.
Yeah.
And we were still making playoffs and NFC
Yeah.
championships and steps, like literally 1 to 2 steps away from making Super Bowls. And made Drew Brees look really good, even though as Saints fans, we could see him deteriorating. But Sean still figured it out to where Drew Brees looked good. So he can do that with Russ, especially with the weapons that the Broncos have around him, like Jerry
Young,
Jeudy.
too.
Jerry Jeudy,
Sutton,
Cortland Sutton,
Javonte
KJ
Williams.
Hamler,
Oh my God.
Javonte Williams towards ACL, but he'll be back and ready to go next season. I mean, the Broncos have weapons.
Young weapons.
If they can get a coach that can direct them, and they had a top 5 defense this year.
Yeah, they
That's
were good.
that's a part that gets overlooked. Is if the Broncos would have scored, I think it was 18 points per game, they would have almost won their division. They would be in the playoffs right now if they could have averaged 18 points a game, but they couldn't because of the offense. Yeah. And that's what Sean Payton does, is initiate an offense. So I like the fit for Denver. However, I think he'll end up in Arizona. Biggest reason why is Arizona not only doesn't have a head coach, they don't have a GM. Steve Keim is stepping down. Sean Payton has publicly said if he's going out to coach again, he wants 2 things. He wants more control of the personnel, and he wants a good relationship with the owner. If you're coming in and the owner's like, hey, we don't have a GM, you get to make personnel decisions, Sean Payton's automatically going to put that at the top of his list. Because if he can make personnel decisions as the head coach, that takes out the middleman from the owner. He gets to make his decisions on what his roster looks like, who he's playing day to day, who you're drafting, who you're getting in free agency, practice squad, anything. If Sean Payton has a lot of input on those decisions, he'll go to that situation. I also think having Kyler Murray there, who's a young, mobile quarterback, something Sean Payton really never has had, will be an interesting aspect to add in. They don't have as many weapons as Denver does.
Yeah, they're trying to trade D-Hop, aren't they?
Yeah, I've
That
seen
came out
that
today.
they might try to trade D-Hop. So my thing is, it's a kind of a give and take here. I like him in Arizona for that reason, but also does he want to go to a situation where he's not guaranteed to really win? Because I feel like Denver has more talent than Arizona does right now.
Yeah, I think so.
And can he go to Arizona and immediately turn things around? I don't know. But I don't know, in my brain, Sean Payton in Arizona makes a lot of sense. But Denver's an easy 1A, 1B for me. So I think one of those 2 places is where we'll see him.
I think Arizona would make much more sense for the Saints as well.
Yeah, because they do have the third. I brought this up yesterday in our group chat.
Gotcha.
Arizona has the 3rd pick in the upcoming draft. So if the Saints can if Arizona agrees to send us the 3rd pick, we could get somebody like C.J. Stroud in this upcoming draft, which, if we're looking at the Saints, a quarterback is a big need this offseason. And if we can get C.J. Stroud, a guy who's 3-year starter at a Big Ten school where he's put up numerous records and had endless weapons, and get him to reconnect with Chris Olave, it's a hard thing to pass up.
Yeah. Definitely could be very promising, but also on the scale from college to the NFL, it's a whole different situation moving from the college sport to the professional
absolutely.
sport. So you don't really, especially with the draft, you never really know how a prospect's going to turn out. But I'd like to think that he would be a great addition to this team.
Yeah. And speaking about college, we can't ignore what we saw last night.
No, we can't.
So on the last episode, if y'all didn't watch it, you can always go back and watch it on the Radio House Studios YouTube or Facebook page. Just look for the Off the Dome Sports Podcast. We had Rebo on.
Yeah,
and
please watch it.
Rebo and I were confident that TCU had a shot at beating Georgia. We went as far to say as TCU will beat Georgia. And, looking back now, I mean, of course, hindsight is 20/20 if you're looking back 3 years. But, it was probably dumb.
Yeah.
We were riding the high of a TCU Cinderella story. That's what we were doing. We wanted the underdog to win. We love the Cinderella story. Team of Destiny is something I brought up. Very wrong.
I can appreciate the hot take.
Yeah.
I can appreciate
You
the
love a good
Cinderella.
hot take.
I do. Look, I was a big Phillies guy when they were playing the big bad Astros in the World Series.
Yeah.
But
As was I.
I must say that I was not into the underdog this time.
No. If you didn't see the game, probably best for you. Georgia won 65-7. It never felt close. I mean, first play of the game is a false start by TCU.
Yep.
3 and out for them. Georgia gets the ball. They score. TCU gets the ball back. TCU, they did get it 10-7 at one point after a bomb to Darius Davis down the left sideline. But after that, TCU never even sniffed the end zone. So, I mean, Georgia absolutely dominated from first whistle to last. Byron, what's your take on last night?
I didn't watch too much of the game. I watched the beginning, around halftime. I turned it back on because it was exactly how I expected it to be, a boring blowout.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, that Georgia team, I don't think if they play like that every game, no one can beat them.
No, absolutely not.
Someone said that 2022 Georgia could have won the NFC South this year.
See, okay, I know they didn't mean it seriously, but that is one of my least favorite arguments is when somebody says a college football team could beat an NFL team.
A college team could never beat
No,
an NFL team.
like 2019 LSU would have lost to that year Houston Texans. Let's be honest. Because you look at it and you're like, oh, that 2019 LSU teams, we had probably out of our start in 22, we probably had 20 guys go to the NFL and make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
But the Houston Texans have 53 NFL players on their roster. We had 20. So, I know that's off subject, but that aggravates me when people are like, oh, this college team could beat this. No, they can't. Shut up.
No.
But that does bring up the point that I saw on Twitter as soon as the game ended. Could 2022 Georgia beat 2019 LSU? What is y'all thoughts on that?
Not a chance in hell.
Probably not. I just think TCU fell super flat, for some reason during this game, because their offense is good. TCU, they had a great offense this year against good teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think they were in their heads a little bit about it. I think Kirby Smart kind of outcoached them.
Outsmarted
really
them
heavily. Yeah.
Out Kirby smarted them. Yes.
And if TCU couldn't have their offense, they couldn't have anything. The thing about the 2019 LSU Tigers, I think that might be the best offense in college football history.
Oh yeah.
And the defense was very serviceable. People overlook
especially
that
towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that defense was good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a serviceable defense with that offense, I think they could have easily beat Georgia.
Yeah.
Maybe not easily. It would have been a fun game.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think we beat this Georgia team 65-7. But you've got to admit, 2019 LSU was like catching lightning in a bottle. I mean, that was the epitome of what you want a college football team to be. It is and you know what? My coworkers and I were talking about this today. The fact that every year since 2019 LSU, they've been like, could this team beat 2019 LSU? Could this team beat 2019 LSU? Shows that we are the standard for college football.
Yeah.
That team is the standard for college football. So you can say, oh, maybe 2022 Georgia would have beat them. 2020 Alabama would have beat them. It doesn't matter. The fact that you're comparing them to 2019 LSU shows who the best is.
I think this game has illustrated a lot about conference football in college football right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the SEC is so far and above any of other conference that it's kind of unfair.
Yeah.
Like, because TCU, obviously a Big 12 school,
Yep.
beat a Big 10 school,
Yep.
Michigan. And that's always the biggest argument. The Big 10 schools, the Ohio States, the Michigans, they're always so good.
Yeah.
But the SEC, man, we got some dogs, dude.
The SEC, I'm trying to, this might be way off, but I saw this today. I think Peter Burns tweeted it out. The SEC played against the Big 12 champion, the Big 10 runner-up, the Big 10 third place, I think, and then the Big 12 runner-up, which would be TCU, Ohio State, Purdue, and Kansas State. So the SEC played those 4 teams, which were all at some point ranked within the top 12, top 15 teams. The SEC went 4-0 against them and outscored them 200-40.
Yeah.
You can say all you want, but actually Josh Heupel said this on a podcast. Tennessee's head coach said this a couple months ago. They said, so how do you feel about this college football playoff, going to 12 teams? How do you feel about how it should be arranged, blah, blah, blah? And he said, honestly, for me, you just take the top 4 SEC teams and let them duke them out because that's the best teams anyway. And I was like, he's got a point. Because, with the way LSU played against Purdue, they could have went out and beat a Michigan.
Yeah, probably. I think they would have contested Michigan.
Yeah, and then you look at what Alabama did to Kansas State. You look at what Tennessee did to Clemson. Yeah. The SEC is leaps and bounds above every other conference, and it angers me when people try to argue that. Because, listen, I'm an LSU Tiger through and through, but we have some SEC pride in general.
Yeah. When it comes down to it.
Yeah. We know where football is run through.
Because it only makes LSU look better when the SEC continually wins.
Yeah, because we play the harder teams.
Yeah.
It's a harder conference to win in.
Absolutely.
And those teams that are successful in the SEC are that much better.
They're battle tested.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Moving on from college football, just because there's not much to talk about that national championship game, it was, Georgia dominated. That's all we really need to say. Moving on from college football, let's get back into the NFL.
Soundman said those other conferences ain't ready for big boy football.
That's a fact. The SEC's moniker is "it just means more," which is so cheesy, but it's kind of true. It's so it just means. Oh, shut up! But yeah, it's kind of true. SEC football, when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a different kind of
football.
The
SEC gets the biggest recruits. They get the biggest athletes.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's comparable.
Even bad SEC teams are top 15 recruiting classes.
Yeah.
If you look at the recruiting classes this year, I don't know for sure. I don't have it pulled up, but I'm sure Georgia, A&M, Bama, LSU, Tennessee, Ole Miss, I'm sure all of those teams are within the top 10 to 15.
That's because these high school athletes, they look at the SEC and know
they're an NFL factory.
That's the road to the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to the SEC, man. I didn't think we were going to go on an SEC better than everybody rant, but here we are. But yeah, getting into the NFL, we talked about the playoffs and what we thought would happen on the last episode.
Sticking with it.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it too. The matchups are a little bit different than what we said, only from the sense that we had the Steelers making the 7th seed because we thought the Dolphins would lose to the Jets. However, the Dolphins ended up winning. So now we have the Dolphins as the 7th seed. Everything else remains the same. So I'm going to quickly go through, and I want you to give us your takes since we've already given ours.
Okay, you're going to go through game by game?
I'm going to go through game by game, and then we're going to work our way all the way to the Super Bowl, and I want you to give us your Super Bowl winner.
All right.
So first game we're going to go to here is the Seahawks versus the 49ers. That is the 7th versus the 2 seed.
Give me the 49ers.
You want to give me any?
I just think the 49ers are a better team.
Yep.
And I don't think they're going to lose at home. I have a little hot take about this game.
How do you feel about Brock Purdy?
I love me a Brock Purdy, dude. I was watching him when he was back with Iowa State.
Yeah.
He's a great ball player, and I'm really glad he's getting some recognition. I think San Fran has an interesting choice to make this offseason on what to do with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, respectively.
They do have one of the most interesting quarterback situations in the league where you have 3 guys you can view as a starter on your team. With
Yeah.
what Brock Purdy's done over the past 8 games, what Trey Lance is supposed to be, and just what they've put into him, the amount of draft capital, the amount of team building that they've put around Trey Lance, the fact that they immediately started him over Jimmy G, and then you have Jimmy G, who has taken you to a Super Bowl before and taken you to an NFC Championship last season. So they definitely have one of the most interesting quarterback situations. But you've got them beating Seattle.
Yeah. I mean, I have San Fran. I mean, that defense is amazing.
Absolutely.
Top tier in the league.
Yep.
Scary.
And then the offense has Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk,
Kittle.
and George Kittle. Yeah. So, like, they have
Elijah
a great
Mitchell's
team.
coming back.
Okay.
So, come on.
I don't know.
Y'all
If,
stop disrespecting
I don't know
Elijah
if I'm
Mitchell.
that hype about Elijah Mitchell.
He's a
coming
dog.
back.
He's a dog. All right, so next matchup, we got the 6 seed Giants taking on the 3 seed Vikings.
Give me the Vikings.
Okay.
I think the Vikings, they're known to give up a lot of points at the beginning of a game.
Shout out to
But
the Colts.
I think the Vikings offense, which has really been clicking lately, I think they're gonna be able to overwhelm this Giants team. Who, let's be honest, this Giants team has been kind of mid.
Yeah.
And it's more than we were expecting. Like, we were
Yeah.
expecting this to be a bad Giants team, but
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs.
yeah,
They're
I
here.
mean,
They're
they
the
were
6 seed.
They were a super surprise, but I think the Vikings are a better team. I think Kirk Cousins is going to come out, and I think he's gonna shock the world.
I see the Giants similar to how I see the Seahawks. They're both riding beginning of season highs.
Yeah,
They both started off the season really hot, and they dwindled out towards the end of the season, but they won so much at the beginning that it didn't really matter. Because I mean, the Giants, they started 5-1, 6-1, and they're sitting here at 9-7-1.
mm-hmm.
So I mean that you can tell that they lost a lot more towards the end of the year than they did in the beginning, but they're still sitting at the 6 seed, still in the playoffs. All you gotta do is make it to the dance, right? Next game up, 5 seed Dallas Cowboys versus the 4 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Give me the Bucks.
Okay,
I think the Cowboys are known to choke in the playoffs,
that is a fact.
especially in recent memory in the past 20 years.
Mhm.
And I think it's hard to go against Tom Brady, even though Tom Brady is not Tom Brady anymore. I just think the Bucks, they've been playing really good football lately, and the Cowboys, they are coming off of a loss. They just lost.
Yeah, they just lost to the
Yeah.
Commanders, and it wasn't like
My
oh
God.
man, I can't believe they lost this. They got dominated.
Yeah.
Big bad Manders.
Big bad Manders.
So I think in Tampa, I think Tom Brady and the Bucks are gonna handle business, even though the Cowboys are gonna be favorited.
yeah, they are. Cowboys are technically a betting favorite, even though they are a lower seed.
Okay.
So people are expecting the Cowboys to win, even though they're a 5 versus a 4. Just because, I mean, the team records, the Cowboys went 12-5, the Bucks went 8-9.
Look, I think the Cowboys are a better team.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I absolutely think the Cowboys are a better team. I just think this seems like one of those games that the Cowboys lose.
Yeah, I mean, probably 8 times out of 10 the Cowboys win this one, but we could see one of those 2 possibilities where the Buccaneers figure it out.
Yeah.
So you've got the higher seed winning and all
do.
of those games
Yeah.
there.
Take a quick pause real quick.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
Soundman brings up 3 good points.
All right, I want to
Okay.
hear 'em.
So the first one, he said, I think Jimmy G is a free agent. And yes, he
Yes.
will be after this
Yep.
season. They brought him back on a 1-year deal. Where can he go?
There's a couple teams off the top of my head. I say goes to the Jets. Robert Saleh's there. Mike LaFleur, who was his play caller earlier in San Fran, is there. He has connections in New York, and looking at Jimmy G, he looks like a New York guy.
He does.
Um,
Jet black hair.
and I think
handsome as hell.
yeah, very handsome, very handsome Italian man. Garoppolo. I had to do it, but yeah, I mean, you look at the Jets. They have Zach Wilson, who's a sputtering young player. The way you come in, because I'm expecting Joe Flacco to probably retire. The way you come in and challenge Zach Wilson is give him a savvy veteran who's won
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
He's never really
So-
had a chance to learn under someone before.
Yeah, so give him Jimmy G, and whoever wins the starting job has yet to be seen. But I think Jimmy G in New York is the perfect fit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I'd like to see him in a Saints uniform because I know
Better than Andy Dalton.
what he can bring to the table, especially with this team.
Mhm.
Pretty similar build to the 49ers.
What kind of contract would you want out of that, though? Like a 1 year,
That's a
2
great-
year?
Maybe
I would
a
expect a
2-year.
2 to 3. Wherever Jimmy G goes, I expect probably a 2 to 3. For the Saints, I could see a 2-year, like, $45 million, something like that.
My problem is, like, with Jimmy G as a Saint, I don't see that being the difference. Like,
No,
he's
I
not
don't-
going to elevate that team to a Super Bowl caliber team.
I would agree. I don't think he makes us a Super Bowl team, but
I think he makes us a playoff team.
He puts us in a better position than Andy Dalton does.
Maybe.
Where would you want to see Jimmy G go?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Detroit?
Oh,
Jared Goff had a good season.
Jared Goff did have a
He
good.
had a
Jared
great
Goff
season.
had a really good season.
See, my problem is that I'm not very fond of Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's fair.
Like, I wouldn't take him over most of the guys in the league. That's just my personal opinion.
Fair enough. What's Soundman's second?
Second point, it is a miracle because the Vikings covered for once.
Shout out to Rebo and his Vikings.
And then the third one, my favorite.
Mhm.
He said, side note, shout out Lovie Smith knowing he's getting fired and getting the win to make the Texans lose the #1 draft pick.
That was the biggest
Yeah.
power move of all. I love
Nice-
that for Lovie Smith.
Nice little middle finger
And
on
you know
the
what?
way out.
You know what the great thing was? Is it was to give the Bears the #1 pick, and Lovie Smith is synonymous with the Bears.
My Bears.
Yeah, your Bears, who
My
stink.
Bears.
They got the #1 pick. So much for the playoffs, huh,
Now,
bud?
what do you think they take there?
I think Will Anderson.
I think they try to trade it. I don't know what team's going to go for it. Really,
The Jets.
I don't think the Jets want another new quarterback.
What about the
It doesn't.
Eagles?
Why would they have Jalen Hurts?
No, well, they might not want a quarterback.
What if they trade with the Texans?
They trade up to a little 1-2 swap. I mean, we've seen
Brandon
the Bears
Cooks
do
for
it
the-
before.
yeah.
The Bears did it at 2 and 3
I remember.
to move up to get Mitch Trubisky.
The Bears need that veteran receiver. Could get Brandon Cooks.
Get Brandon Cooks and
But what about Equanimous St. Brown?
no,
He's elite.
no. I'm not even gonna pay attention to that. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll try to move it. Maybe a team will sneak in there and get it. If not, they're gonna take Will Anderson. It doesn't make sense to take a quarterback.
No, yeah.
No.
All right, so we did the NFC wild card. So let's move on to what you would have in the divisional. We'd have the Eagles
Okay.
taking on the Buccaneers in Philly. We'd have San Fran taking on Minnesota in San Fran. First matchup, Philly versus Tampa.
Give me Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, Philly is there for a reason, and with a healthy Jalen Hurts, I mean, they're really, really hard to beat.
Yeah.
And I know I have Tampa beating the Cowboys, but Tampa's not that good.
No.
Tampa has so many holes in that team, and I think Sirianni is going to expose each and every single one.
Sirianni is a very impressive coach
Yeah.
because if you listen to him as a human in his press conferences, he sounds like a dipweed. Like just like it's bad. But then
Yeah.
you get out on the field and Sirianni outcoaches guys. So I mean, I was riding the Eagles before the season. You know how I feel about them.
Yeah.
I think we all were.
Yeah, except for Reese.
Rebo Hustle.
Which how do you look now, Rebo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then
I mean,
second
his
matchup.
Vikings are doing good.
Yeah, second matchup, San Fran versus Minnesota. What you got, Lot?
Wait, and what was it again?
San Fran versus Minnesota in San Fran.
San Fran, Minnesota.
It's a good matchup. We talked about it on the last one. Is like the strengths and weaknesses kind of match. So it would because Minnesota's defense is inconsistent as well as San Fran's offense,
It's
and
at
then you've
San
got powerhouse versus powerhouse on the offensive defensive side. At San Fran.
At San Fran.
Yeah.
Give me the Vikings.
Oh, no.
Oh wow.
Oh, no.
Give me the
Wow.
Vikings. I will gladly pick against those
What's
49ers.
What's the difference maker for you?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I don't see. I don't.
Just a gut feeling.
It is a gut feeling.
I hear you.
It really does seem like the 49ers. I mean, they have not been the most consistent team in the NFL this year, and
Yeah.
neither have the Vikings.
Yeah.
And I think the Vikings are one of those teams whose offense excuses inconsistency. And I don't think the 49ers have that.
Yeah, that I love the way you put that. That's a great point.
The way I love this game, by the way, but the way I see it, this matchup, especially coming off the recent loss to the Packers, when the Vikings play a good defense, they don't know what to do.
That's fair. I'm still taking the Vikings.
doesn't change his mind.
I'm still taking the Vikings.
So then you would have the Vikings going to Philly for a 2017 NFC Championship rematch. Philly versus the Vikings. Who would you have in that one?
You know, like I don't feel like agreeing with Reese.
Don't do it.
I'm going to take the Eagles.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Agree with me and Byron instead.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Eagles are the best team.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are.
There's a
They-
reason they're the 1 seed, right?
Yeah, they were one of the best teams in football.
All right, so in the AFC, you've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the 1 seed getting their bye. So first matchup we're looking at is the Dolphins versus the Bills.
This is
7-2.
going to be a great game.
Tua. We don't know if Tua is going to play or not. By the way,
If Tua plays, it will be a great game.
what if Tua does not play and
If
we have
Tua-
Skylar Thompson as
If
their starting
Tua does
quarterback?
not play, it's a deadlock Bills.
Okay.
Right? If Tua plays, I could see the
I
upset happening.
could see it too. We saw how they played earlier in the season
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
the Bills.
Dolphins beat the Bills at one point this year,
But just for the sake of prosperity, give me the Bills.
Yeah.
Give me the Bills in this matchup.
which
They were
Quick
my
side
Super
note.
Bowl picks.
DeMar Hamlin out of the hospital.
That's great.
He got
Glad to
released.
hear it.
Well, he's in the hospital, but now in Buffalo.
Mm.
He was released in Cincinnati. They allowed him to travel, so now he's back in the hospital, but in Buffalo, back home where everybody can get to him. And he's showing a lot of signs of progress. So the prayers are working for DeMar. Baltimore Ravens 6 seed taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Who you got in that matchup?
Depends on if Lamar is playing.
I think he's supposed to. So let's say Lamar plays.
I think if Lamar plays, Ravens beat the Bengals.
Really?
I do.
Wow.
Reese had the same take, right?
Wow.
That's how I feel. Look, I think the Bengals. I think they are a team that can lose,
That's
and I think the
Any team can
Ravens.
lose,
The Ravens
really.
have been winning without a quarterback,
Yeah.
or without Lamar Jackson, who is their player.
yeah.
That's their stud.
Yeah. Which
I think when
that's
you-
another interesting quarterback situation all by itself.
Yeah, when you add your stud back into your team, I think he's going to be fired up. I think they are going to be hungry to go at these Bengals who just smoked you.
Yeah, they did.
week
They just beat
17?
him in week 18.
Week
this
18.
past week. So
Give me
back
the
to back.
Ravens.
I like that. I like the upset. I don't like the upset who it's on, but I like that you're picking an upset. And then Chargers Jags. This is a close one for sure. I think it's got the closest spread out of any game at 1.5 right now.
1.5. Yeah.
Do I go with Vegas or do I go with seeding?
Go with your gut.
Go with my gut.
Go with what you think, Lot.
My gut says Brandon Staley is going to choke this game away.
That's probably a good gut reaction.
Give me Jacksonville.
Okay.
I could see the Chargers losing this game because that's how the Chargers roll. They lose games like this.
That actually is very true. As a semi-Chargers follower,
Me too.
yeah, we both said before the year we were big fans of the Chargers.
And they did it earlier this season against Jacksonville.
Very true.
Yeah.
So
And Jacksonville looks great.
they
Yes.
do.
Yes.
They're
They had a
hot
great
right now.
year. Doug Peterson is my coach of the year.
I think if they would have won double digits, he probably
it's
would have
fair.
won.
That's
Which
fair.
is one more game, 2 more games maybe.
Yeah.
I could definitely see I could definitely see Doug Peterson earning that coach of the year.
But what did they win? 3 games last year?
Yeah, they had the number 1 pick.
That's crazy.
They had the number 1 pick, and now they're in the playoffs. That's a great turnaround for Jacksonville, especially after the drama with Urban Meyer and everything last year.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was gross. But all right, so that would take us to the AFC divisional matchup where you'd have the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 6 seed Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's not even a question, right?
I think Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the National Football League.
I think he is too. Had
And-
Jalen Hurts not missed a couple weeks,
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts would have been in the conversation, but Mahomes set career highs.
I think he's far and above
Yeah.
the MVP.
Which is crazy because Mahomes setting career highs is like, gee whiz. And it was kind of a quiet way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because their offense seemed less efficient.
Yeah. And yet he put up his best numbers without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Crazy. But the Chiefs in that one, and then you'd have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Jags. Don't do it. I can tell you're thinking about it.
I mean, I like this Jags team just as much as the next guy, but
Give me
in Buffalo,
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Really?
oh, no. This is the last podcast all over again for me.
Give me the
Fever dream?
Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Buffalo Bills. Why?
That's crazy.
Because of Trevor Lawrence. Sunshine is out to play
All right, interesting.
because of Travis Etienne.
Great player. So you'd have Jacksonville going into Kansas City for the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
So you'd have, I don't know why, but 2017, you'd have 3 of the same 4 teams making the championship rounds.
Yeah.
So
Maybe I'm still living in
Jacksonville and Kansas City. Who takes that one? Don't do it. Do not say Jacksonville's going to the Super Bowl, bro. Do not embarrass yourself like that.
If
If you want to talk about baseball today, then you better say Kansas City.
look, I talk about baseball all the time. Give me the Jags.
Do you actually believe this, or are you just doing this for a bit?
I'll never tell. Look, these Jacksonville Jaguars, I got a feeling in the pit of my stomach. This feels like a run.
This is outrageous.
Give me
This is outrageous.
Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars in the Super Bowl
Okay. So,
against
the Philadelphia Eagles. Who would you take if we had the Eagles taking on the Jags in the Super Bowl?
From the first round pick
Hang
to
on,
the
where-
Super Bowl.
where is it? Where is it at?
It would be in Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah. Does that matter?
It does. It matters in my mind right now.
It's a hot weather situation.
It
Jacksonville's
is.
a hot weather team.
Before we announce this pick, Thug Nasty brings up a very valid point.
Okay.
What are you going to shave if Jacksonville gets to the Super Bowl?
I'm not gonna shave any. I'll shave.
No.
I'll shave my butt.
Not you.
Me?
Oh, hell.
Redfish.
If Jacksonville, I will go clean shaven on the beard. I will completely
That's
shave
it?
off the beard. I'm not shaving my head.
Come on, man.
Jacksonville's not that important to me.
But you would do it for the Bears?
Yeah, because I was more confident on the Bears. I'm less confident that the Jags make it to the Super Bowl than I am that the Bears lose that many games.
This is what I mean. He thinks I'm right. Deep
I don't
down,
think you're right.
Deep down in his heart,
I don't
he
think you're
knows
right. I
I'm
think
right.
you're more right about this than you
He
are about the
needs
Bears.
me to be right, and because of that, I'm taking Jacksonville to win the Super Bowl. I can't go against my gut. My instincts are telling me. Jacksonville, 2022 Super Bowl champions. That's what it is. That's how we're living, and that is what my legacy will be. Calling this playoff run by the Jacksonville.
This sounds like me picking the Blue Jays to win the World Series.
Comments are blowing up with Duval.
Duval.
Let's go.
I can't wait. Dude, this is me and the Blue Jays all over again. Like this.
Yeah.
This is me and TCU in the last episode. Like this is.
You and the Chargers last episode.
Hey, the Chargers have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl than TCU did of winning that national championship.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't think TCU had a shot.
All right, so that's Lot's Super Bowl predictions.
Who did you guys say? Just out of curiosity.
I had the Chargers over the Eagles.
Get 'em winning?
Just like I did before the season.
Okay. What about you?
I had the Niners over the Bills.
Interesting.
My biggest debate was Chargers or Bengals. But I ended up going Chargers because I said it before the year, and I told myself I have to listen to myself if it's still possible. So that's where we're at.
If that happens, Chargers Bengals, I think Bengals smoke them. I think Bengals will beat them by 30.
Well, either way,
I would agree with
I'd
that.
sound pretty smart. So, all right. You know, you're already on a roll. You've already got the energy flowing. So why don't you go ahead and do what you do best and break down baseball, Mr. Lottober. Talk about the offseason. What's a big surprise? Who's winning the offseason? Who's losing the offseason?
Okay, we can go through that. Let's talk surprises.
All right.
I think the biggest surprise is this whole Carlos Correa situation. I don't know if you guys saw.
Unfortunately.
A month or two ago, Carlos Correa left the Twins for the Giants, and he got a massive contract. But then something was wrong with his physical, and then negotiations were pretty frustrating. And then Steve Cohen and the Mets. Gotta love the Mets.
You don't. That's your
right.
least favorite team.
Gotta love the Mets. They
I'm going to
swooped
clip
in.
this and send it to him
They
later.
swooped in and picked up Carlos Correa, and they signed him for a lot of money, too. It's like they ignored that the Giants were worried about something. It's like they thought the Giants were bluffing when they said he had a physical problem. Because when the Mets signed Correa,
Agreed to terms.
agreed to terms with Correa, they looked at his physical and were like, there's something off here. Maybe the Giants weren't doing this for nothing. And so once you offer a Scott Boras client, it's almost impossible to come down in money, come down in length. So those things got so tense that earlier today, the Minnesota Twins, his team last year, swooped in and gave him 6 years, $200 million to come back to the Twins. And I don't know if it's official yet. Who knows if
He might fail another physical.
He might fail another physical.
he might. I think this makes Carlos Correa like one of the most interesting free agents ever.
Yeah, this is an unprecedented
I mean,
situation.
he's
to say the
been.
least.
I saw something earlier. It said he's been offered 32 years worth of contracts, like in total this offseason.
That's hilarious.
So that's kind of insane. I mean, that was pretty good. I think another shock is that your Red Sox signed Rafael Devers. I know you're happy about that. That was.
That was
Give
the
it
one
up.
good thing they did.
Give it up for Chain Bloom, man.
I don't know if it's really a shock. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Like that.
It's a shock that the Red Sox actually did
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
The Red Sox have been really poorly ran in the past few years.
Oh, you ain't got to tell me.
So it's really exciting that you have him locked up for what was it, 11 years?
11 years, $330 million.
That's nice, dude.
We're paying the man a lot of money, but listen, he was an MVP candidate 2 years ago.
Yeah, I do. Look, I
He's
think
a great player.
he's a top 2 third baseman in baseball.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I would say he's top 1 personally, but that's biased. That's biased. That's biased. That's biased.
In terms of who's winning free agency, look, I think even though the Mets lost Carlos Correa and they missed out on having one of the best off seasons ever if they would have got Carlos Correa, I think they still had an insane off season. I think they had the best one. They signed Kodai Senga. They re-signed Brandon Nimmo, Justin Verlander, Jose Quintana, and Edwin Diaz. So, like, with the departure of DeGrom, they've replaced him and then some.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're getting their pitchers back, and they re-signed a guy that they needed, and they re-signed one of the best closers in baseball in Edwin Diaz. So I think they have been really great. I think the Yankees, both of those New York teams, the Yankees have also been great. I mean, they didn't do much. Like, let's be honest, they didn't do much. But they got Judge back. I mean, he was the number 1 free agent, right? So I think he was the biggest part of their offseason. They got Judge back and they got Rizzo back. So kind of keeping that core intact. And they also went and got Carlos Rodon, who is one of the best pitchers in baseball. So I can't knock the Yankees this offseason because they did like everything they needed to do and then some.
Yeah.
I mean, they went and got a pitcher
It's unfortunate for me.
for that already great rotation that they have,
yeah,
right?
don't have to tell me.
So those were probably like statistically the best. But my favorite moves that were made this offseason were done by the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers basically went and got a whole pitching staff. I mean, they had Martin Perez, who was great last year, and they re-signed him. They went and got Jacob deGrom. They went and got Andrew Haney, and then they went and got Nathan Eovaldi.
Hey, listen, Nasty Nate, he is very inconsistent. However, if you get the best of Nathan Eovaldi, he's a top 10 pitcher in baseball. From a Red Sox fan, if Nathan Eovaldi can go 7 innings for you,
It's like 2021 Stafford.
yeah, I mean, like he's a very good pitcher on a good day.
My
But if you
thing
get
is-
a bad Nasty Nate day,
My thing is that
It's like Carson Wentz.
we're talking about Nathan Eovaldi like he's so great. He's so great. How many teams would he be an ace for? On the Rangers, he's like the 4th pitcher.
no, yeah,
He's like the 3rd pitcher.
he would be a top 2 pitcher on probably half of the MLB.
Yeah.
He would probably come in. You know, if he re-signed with the Red Sox, he'd be probably 2 or 3, probably 3. But you look like the names you were just naming off. If he goes to the Rangers and he steps in at the 4 spot,
Yeah.
so I mean that's a great pitching staff for them. Them and the Mets.
I think if you're a Rangers fan, you have to be really excited about that.
Yeah, for sure.
For them, you just want to keep Jacob deGrom healthy.
And then we can't ignore another team who I think had a really good offseason,
Who's that?
and that's Mr. Mustang's Cubs.
Oh, the Cubs. The Cubs had a great
They
offseason,
made some
man.
moves that nobody expected.
It shocked me because they normally don't do things like this.
Yeah, and then they signed 2, fairly highly valued players.
Who's the other one? Bellinger?
Yeah, Bellinger.
Bellinger.
I think Bellinger has a ton of value. My thing with Bellinger, he hasn't been good in a while.
Yeah, he hasn't been good since he won the MVP.
Yeah,
That'll
like
bounce
since
back.
2019.
He'll bounce back.
That's why they gave him a 1 year. That's why they gave him a 1
Yeah,
year.
1 year,
But
which
I
I was
think-
happy about.
I think the Dansby signing was kind of incredible.
That's awesome for the Cubs. I love that for you.
Like that.
Like,
That's a
I
great
need to get a
player
jersey
have.
ASAP.
I'm jealous your team has Dansby Swanson and my team doesn't. Let's put it that way.
I think I will say the worst team in free agency this year. I mean, obviously, there's teams that haven't even been trying. You know, like the Reds.
Mhm.
They only signed one person. The
Sorry.
Pirates, who
Sorry,
signed a
Paul.
few, but like it's whatever. But the team that tried so hard and got nothing was the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
Now the Giants signed a bunch of guys. I mean, they went and got Michael Conforto, Mitch Haniger, Sean Manaea. Like they went and got a few guys, but they were going after the heavy hitters. I mean, they were going after Judge, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, even.
Yeah,
They were
Carlos
going-
Correa.
Yeah, they were going after all of these guys, and they couldn't sign any of them. So that has to be like the most disappointing office in baseball right now.
Yeah,
like
for
they
sure.
must be
I agree.
devastated.
Yeah, I mean, not the worst ran because that still belongs to the boys up in Boston, but
Yeah.
definitely the most disappointing offseason
Yeah.
for any MLB team.
Yeah.
All right, talking to a few of your baseball points, just so we don't completely ignore your baseball. I think the Mets did have the best offseason. I would agree with that.
Okay.
Just because imagine a game where you see Verlander go 7 2/3 innings, and then you see Edwin Diaz trot out there. Like you're going from a guy who just won the Cy Young to a guy who's widely viewed as the best closer in baseball.
Yeah.
Like that's a crazy 1-2 combo to have. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a bunch about baseball.
Scherzer,
Yeah,
who also had an incredible year, like for his standard and for his age. Yeah, I mean the Mets set themselves up really well this offseason.
What are you looking forward to in 2023 for baseball, Byron?
I'm looking for the Cubs to start putting the ball in play more. Last season, I was watching the games a lot, and they really weren't the games weren't fun to watch anymore to me. It felt like it was just pitching battles over and over again. But with these two signings, if Bellinger does get back to his original form, I think it could be exciting with this roster.
I think even if like they can't put the ball in play more, which hopefully they do, right? I think even if they are a similar team, like if not a little better, I think they can be an exciting team to watch simply because of the talent that they have. I mean, Dansby Swanson, he's a good ball player. He is a flashy kind of shortstop in the MLB. Cody Bellinger, MVP, trying to make a comeback story out of it. You have Nico Horner, who is a contact guy. He's still trying to find his footing in the major leagues, but he's young, and he still has time. Christopher Morel, who has been incredible so far. He's super young. He's in his second year.
My favorite one?
Seiya Suzuki.
Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah. He had an okay year last year.
Yeah.
He was
He's
injured.
still getting his footing.
He was injured a few times. If he can be what the Cubs thought he was when they signed him, then the Cubs now have five guys that are
That's a good burger.
really, really interesting. Like really, really interesting to watch. The pitching staff, that's a different story. Don't get me wrong. Alec Mills.
Who?
Alec Mills.
Right.
He's kind of fun to watch. But other than that, I mean, you really don't have anybody that's really gonna get your goat. That's really gonna get you going. But I would look for the Cubs to be third in the Central this year. I mean, behind the Cardinals, behind the
Are the Brewers in that?
the
division?
Brewers. I think Cardinals 1, Brewers 2, Cubs 3, and then Reds 4, Pirates 5.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
Pirates
I'm
are
expecting.
guaranteed for that 5. If you ask me.
I don't know. Reds will fight them for
Yeah,
it.
right. But another thing I'm looking forward to is your Rangers. I really like what they did with this pitching staff.
Mhm.
It kind of sets them up, not so much as of a win now mode, but it sets them up for the future, I think.
Yeah, I think the Rangers are in win now mode.
Just not this season. Next one.
Maybe.
That's what I would say.
Maybe. It's an interesting situation that we have in the AL West because they have a bunch of teams that are honestly pretty good. I mean, they have the Astros, obviously. They have the Mariners, who just made the playoffs for the first time in a while. They have the Angels.
What?
I mean, that's Mike Trout, that's Shohei Ohtani. They signed Brandon Drury. They got Gio Urshela. I'm looking for that team to be better than they were. I think they actually had a good offseason. And then you have these Rangers who have Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, and this whole new rotation. So I think with that pitching, and with a little more consistency, I think they can be a really good, almost playoff caliber team. The Athletics might be the worst team in baseball. The Athletics, who are right under the Rangers, I mean, they'll probably be the worst team in baseball.
Well, we also have Detroit.
Detroit will be low-key
Pittsburgh.
good. You're sleeping on Detroit.
Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh
Kansas
will be
City,
close. My Nationals, they'll be close.
the Royals.
The Royals will be close.
All right, last point about baseball before we move on to our betting section that we always do. I think we can all agree on who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft.
Yeah.
Dylan Cruz.
Okay.
Am I right?
Cruise missiles are flying. in
Look,
the
Cruise
draft.
missiles are flying.
They're saying right now it's one or two players. It's either Dylan Cruz or it's that guy from Tennessee. I can't remember his name right now. He's a pitcher. Chase Hollander, is that his name? It's something like that. Excuse me if I'm wrong.
I'll look at it.
Yeah, but they're saying that those two are far and above.
Yeah.
Like the two best prospects in the draft now.
I love hearing an LSU player in the conversation.
Yeah.
Especially a guy who we've seen live in person, and he is no joke, man. He is a great ball player.
Yeah, I am okay if the Nationals, who had the number 2 overall pick, I'm okay if they get the Tennessee pitcher or Dylan Cruz. I really want them to get Dylan Cruz because I'm an LSU fan, but I'm cool with whatever. I'm just glad we're getting one of those two guys. You're looking for it right now?
Yeah.
All right, so as Byron looks for that name, we're going to quickly get into our betting section before we close out the
Chase Dollander is his
Chase
name.
Dollander.
Yeah, it was
So let's
close.
get into the B&B's bets, but we're including the L this time.
Oh,
Yeah, because we got you a bet as well.
okay.
So if you listen to our last episode, we gave 3-leg NFL locks. Myself, Mustang, and Rebo.
Hustle.
I don't know what Rebo's did. I didn't pay attention, but I know both of ours actually ended up hitting. So mine was Jags money line, Bengals money line, Bills -7. My parlay did hit, and I actually did put money on it, so I made a little bit
Let's go.
on that parlay, and yours hit as well.
Yeah. I didn't make much. Only threw like 10 on it. I think I got like 11 and some change.
Yeah.
Because it was only plus 125.
Right.
But yeah, mine also hit the Chiefs money line, Bills money line, and Vikings money line for once.
Vikings finally
Vikings
came through.
finally covered for me.
So the bet I wanted to do here is we're looking at the NFL playoffs. You have betting underdogs. If you had to pick one betting underdog to cover their spread or to even win the game, which betting underdog would you pick? I'm going to start us off. I'm going to go with a team that's playing against the most inconsistent team in football from what I've seen, and that is the New York Giants against the Minnesota Vikings. I really hope Reese is watching right now. If he's not, I hope he comes back and watches this so I can hear his reaction to me saying the Giants have a shot at beating his Minnesota Vikings. But I at least have him covering the spread, which is at 3 right now. What you got, Mr. Latober?
Okay, hear me now.
Hearing you.
I know earlier in the episode I picked Niners over Seahawks, but I don't have the Seahawks winning this game. I just have the Seahawks covering plus 10.
It's a big spread.
Yeah, that is a big
10
spread.
points is huge. I think the Seahawks, Pete Carroll, who has been in this situation a million times, is not going to let the Niners blow the Seahawks out. And I think Brock Purdy, he's a super young quarterback. I still think that the Niners will edge out the Seahawks, but I think the Seahawks will make it a close game. So I like the Seahawks plus 10.
I like that. What you got, Mustang?
For me, I have pretty similar to what you said. Team playing
Against a very
a
inconsistent.
very inconsistent team
Correct.
in Lots Super Bowl winners to beat the Chargers.
Let's go. Let's go Jaguars.
Let's go Jaguars.
Duval.
Now, I don't
Bolt
think
up,
that
baby.
they'll make it to the Super Bowl, let alone win the Super Bowl. But I do think that they can beat these Chargers.
I hate your pick, but when I hate your pick, you're right. So we'll see. And then if you watch the episode on Tuesday with Reese, which, you know, if you've seen us before, we can't thank you enough. Thank you for listening in, whether you're on New York Radio, Radio House. We really appreciate you listening in. Before we close off here, last time we closed out with some trivia. So we're going to do the same thing for you, Mr. Lottober. We're gonna close out with some NFL trivia here.
Okay.
I know you're a big baseball guy, but this is the big book of football trivia. There's no baseball in it, so you got to do what you got to do.
It's all right. I'll try not to embarrass myself.
So we've got 7 chapters here. Tell me which chapter you would like. The draft, teams, players, coaches, the Super Bowl, bloopers, or Hall of Fame.
Teams.
Teams. All right? And then I believe within every chapter, we've got some different sections here. So listen up to these sections and tell me which section you'd like. We can go with Name That Team, Games with Nicknames, Mascots and Logos, Fields and Stadiums.
Give me Name That Team.
Name that team. All right, and then I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
So let's see how many out of 3 you can get right. Play along in the comments. See how many you can get right. If you get 3 out of 3, we'll give you a thumbs up.
Y'all pray for me.
All right, I'm going to ask you this first one because I know you are a New England Patriots fan. The question is, the 2020 New England Patriots had a losing record for the first time since 2000, ending a 19-year streak.
Yeah.
Which franchise's record would they have tied with a 20th winning year?
With a 20th winning year, 20 straight years of winning.
Yep. They would have tied this franchise's record. So it's not technically a Patriots question, but which franchise won 20 years in a row? Winning record 20 years in a row.
Huh. It's tricky. I'm thinking by decade right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where the decades overlap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it goes from 10 years to 20 years. Because obviously then the Niners were good in the 90s. The Cowboys were good in the 90s. The Steelers were good in the 70s. The Vikings were good in the 60s.
All right, we're gonna get you a 10-second count.
Whoa.
Hey, it's
Okay.
just you got to name one of the 32 NFL franchises.
Give me the Packers.
That's a good guess.
That is a great guess. Byron, do you have a guess?
I'm going to say the Cowboys, and your dad has guessed Pittsburgh.
So my dad is incorrect, and Lot, you are also incorrect. But Byron, it is the
The
Cowboys.
Cowboys, 80s
From-
and 90s.
From 1966
Oh,
to
wow.
1985, the Dallas Cowboys never had a losing
66.
season.
Oh.
All right, so that is the first one. The next question we're going to go with are
Shawnee got it right.
shout out to
Thug
Sean.
Nasty got it wrong.
Let's go, Sean.
He also guessed Pittsburgh.
Here's a question for you. Despite their distance from Hawaii, which franchise chose Honolulu blue as one of their colors?
The San Diego Chargers.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
It's got to be either them or Carolina.
You would both be incorrect. The Detroit Lions shade of blue
Oh.
is listed as Honolulu blue. I only asked you that question because I knew it was a Detroit Lions question, and you know me and my Detroit Lions.
Whatever, dude. Whatever.
All right, and finally,
Shawnee got it right.
shout out Sean.
What?
Your dad said Miami.
Shawnee's on fire.
Dad, they're green. It's fine though.
He said Miami.
All right, finally, we'll go
I think Shawnee's just sitting in front of the
Google.
big book of football.
He might be.
You think he's reading it with Fred?
Well, we'll go with this one here. Which current NFL franchises are the only 3? So it's going to be the answer is going to be 3 different NFL franchises that have at least 700 victories. 700 victories in franchise history. Only 3 teams have
Okay.
accomplished that. Which 3 teams are we looking at here?
Okay, I'm gonna say Pittsburgh. I'm gonna say the Cowboys, and I'm gonna say the Patriots.
Okay. Byron.
I'll go Cowboys, Packers, What's another really old team?
The Browns.
Yeah, but it's the Browns. I'll give you a hint. It is not the Browns.
Yeah, it was because the Bears are really old, like really old.
They are.
Yeah, I'll go with the Bears.
Okay. Byron got 2 correct. Lot, you
I got
unfortunately
none.
missed out. Yeah.
I got none.
So Bears and Packers. The Bears are the leader with 777. Packers come in second place with 769. And then the New York Giants
The Giants. Wow,
are the third team at
I wasn't-
702.
I was thinking
total
about
wins.
the Raiders.
So, Lot, unfortunately you couldn't hit trivia this time, but next time you're on, we'll have some baseball for you.
Yeah, find me some baseball trivia, man.
We'll do the best. We'll do the best we can. But yeah, that's going to do it tonight for the Off the Dome Sports Podcast.
Let me go to the booth.
Yeah, Sound Boy got to go take care of his duties. Soundman Junior, as some would say. So we really want to appreciate everybody who watched in, listened in, whether you're a newrockradio.us, watching in on the Radio House Studios account. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast tonight. Mr. Lottober, I want to thank you for coming on. It was a blast as usual.
Thank you very much for having me.
You bring amazing energy every time you're on here.
Look, I appreciate that. I love having a space where I can expel that energy,
Absolutely.
where
And
I can call the Jacksonville Jaguars road to the Super Bowl on a platform.
yeah, and
So I appreciate it, my brother.
anybody who wants to hear you do it can do it.
That's right.
And you do that by going on Facebook, going on YouTube, Radio House Studios. You can go back and watch any episode you want. They're all on there. So if you want to go back and watch the Reese episode, if you want to watch this one over again, or if you want to see our next episode, which is on Friday, we'll have local MMA fighter Gage Gill on.
Woo!
Very talented young man. So we'll have him on Friday. You don't want to miss that one. So make sure to check on Friday, newrockradio.us and Radio House Studios. Ladies and gents, this has been the Off the Dome Sports Podcast with Bryce, Byron, and Mr. Lottober. And we will see you next time.